Watching the Artemis II landing process was like watching a masterclass in leading at the highest levels of complexity, involving incredible risks, while fully aware that uncertainties were present throughout the mission, but still being completely committed. I'm Dr. Alicia Granholm, leadership strategist. I help leaders develop teams that deliver results so they can have the space to think, lead, and live. When I watch teams facing complex challenges like the Artemis II landing, I pay attention. Because as a leadership strategist, I'm always learning from this type of teamwork and how can we apply what we learn from their work for the benefit of our own leadership with our teams. Whatever complex challenge you and your team are facing right now, here are 6 takeaways about why this coordination worked so flawlessly and what you can use with your team to see the same type of excellence when faced with a massive challenge. Number 1, clear mission and vision. Everyone's responsibility was tied to one singular goal: get the crew home safely and extract them from the vehicle. While there were hundreds of people involved in this rescue mission, everyone had the same singular goal, no matter their role, no matter their responsibilities. Get the crew home safely and then get them out of the spacecraft. Number 2, communication. The more complex the coordination and the more people involved, and in this mission there were hundreds, the more we need to communicate and make sure that everyone has the most up-to-date information needed to succeed in their role. So communication has to be on point whenever we are facing complex challenges and processes. And we can tell that from this rescue mission, people had exactly the information they needed to know when, so that they could successfully complete their role and responsibility to make this such a success. And number 3, to that, everyone knew their role and responsibility. Every single person knew exactly what part they were playing in this stage of the mission. Each person knew what part of this mission they were accountable for. So one part of this rescue mission was getting this collar under the vehicle in the middle of the ocean. So if you were on that team, you knew exactly what your role and responsibility was in order to stabilize the vehicle so that astronauts could successfully and safely get out in the middle of the ocean to then be picked up by a helicopter. If your role was checking on the medical conditions of the astronauts, then you knew that the minute that the door was open and you could get inside, your singular objective was to determine how healthy are they? Is there anything that they need? What can we do to help them right now? So everybody on this team was crystal clear about their role and their responsibilities. Number 4 was ownership. It was obvious who owned what part of this rescue mission and which team owned which stage of it. For example, it was clearly defined which team owned communication during the different stages of the landing. Houston owned the communication with the crew during the reentry phase, including through the blackout period and up until splashdown. Once the capsule splashed down and was deemed stable, then the NASA recovery team assumed control of communications and operations to extract the crew. Not only was ownership clearly defined throughout, but actually multiple teams took over ownership at different times. Ownership is simply who is responsible for the success of a task or a project in order to make sure that X, Y, and Z gets done and meets the agreed upon expectations for it. When we are solving complex challenges and problems, only one person or team can have ownership. And it was so clear that this is how these teams approached this super complex challenge. Number 5. Metrics. NASA was able to tell us to the minute when splashdown would occur, and they were spot on. Why? Because they were literally tracking everything by numbers throughout not just the entire mission, but during this splashdown process. Here's the reality. If you are not that certain about your results, you might not be tracking the right metrics. Metrics are a way to measure progress and results and provide immediate feedback so that you can respond in time if something is off track. And that is exactly what the rescue team did when things didn't go quite as they hoped for and planned. Which leads to number 6, built-in scenarios for when things don't work out the way that we hope they do. When the satellite communication didn't work the way that they hoped and planned, they went to plan B. Nothing is going to work 100% of the way that we hope it will every time. So we simply need to have alternative plans so that we can still meet or exceed expectations. The comms challenge meant that it took longer than hoped to shut down the vehicle. And that backed up the time that it would take in order to extract the astronauts. But because they had a backup plan, they were still able to meet their extraction goal of getting the astronauts out within 2 hours of splashdown. We can never know ahead of time exactly what isn't going to go the way that we hope or plan, but what we can do is we can build in scenarios to our plans so that we can still meet our goals. Here's the main takeaway for me from this rescue mission. If different agencies and countries can work together to accomplish this incredibly complex mission of sending people safely around the moon and back again by being clear about their number one objective, communicating well, knowing their roles, responsibilities, accountabilities, and ownership, tracking everything to make sure that they were on target, and then building in backup plans for when things didn't go as expected, then it can work for the goals that you and I have and the complex challenges that we face in our day-to-day. So what about you? What did you think about the landing? Let me know in the comments below your reaction to the landing. I would love to hear. And if you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button so more people can find it on YouTube and share it with a friend. If you aren't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified every time I post a new video. I'll see you next week.